Donald Trump no tiene las cualidades necesarias para ser presidente.
In a new multi-million-dollar Spanish-language ad war, Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton is calling her opponent, Republican Donald Trump, a danger to the Hispanic community. To date, Trump's ads are English only. With the Latino vote considered crucial to a victory, is language a game changer? Fernand Armandi ran Barack Obama's Hispanic outreach campaign, and I spoke with him recently from Miami. The good news, I suppose, on the Hillary Clinton side is that she is significantly leading Donald Trump in the polls, but there are some big problems. Walk me through what you see as some of the biggest problems.
Well, so let's start with the premise right now that Hillary Clinton needs to really do overwhelmingly, exceedingly well with Hispanic voters, especially in some of the key battleground states where we know they have made the difference. She's exceedingly performing well with Hispanic voters when you look at the head-to-head with Donald Trump. However, by comparison to President Obama's yardstick, she's falling a little bit short. And in every one of these states that are going to be so close, so tight, every little bit counts. If you look at where her performance is today, they're probably not exactly where they would want to be, which is either at or exceeding President Obama's own levels in 2012. And again, part of that has to do with Donald Trump himself.
Members of his own party would say he's been overtly hostile at times to Latinos. So why does he have a 20% rating among Latinos in some polls? That seems high to me.
Look, let's be real. There is going to be a floor. I think the Republicans are going to do no worse than between 15 and maybe 18% of the Hispanic electorate. However, the problem for Hillary Clinton is there are some options on the ballot this time that there weren't in 2012, whether it be Gary Johnson, whether it be Jill Stein. Between the two of them, they're accounting right now for between 5, 6, in some cases 7, 8% of the vote. I don't think she can afford to bleed or have any of those votes eroding to third-party candidates.
Some of the specific complaints, if I could kind of list them, would be that the Latino outreach has been a little bit too little or too late.
The truth of the matter is, yes. I mean, I myself don't quite understand why they waited so late into the process to engage Spanish-dominant Hispanic voters. You know that almost 35, in some cases 40% of the Hispanic electorate either prefers Spanish or consumes most of their news and information in Spanish. And in states like Florida or even Arizona, which is kind of a bubble state that could potentially be in play if you have a large and overwhelming Hispanic turnout, it could be a difference maker.
Can I ask you a quick question before you go? Latinos in 2012 were under 50%, which was the lowest, right? If you look at white voters turnout, if you look at black voters turnout, Latinos at under 50%, that's low. Do you expect a higher voter turnout? Do you have any reason to believe there would be one?
I think you have to create the conditions for a wave, and part of that is really engaging and having a conversation over the course of a campaign and not just making the case why someone isn't good for you, but why you also are good for them. And that's why I think engaging on a variety of issues, whether they be jobs and the economy, which we know is the most important issue, has been for a long time with Hispanic voters, education, national security, foreign policy, and health care. It's not just immigration. Immigration is an important issue, but it's not the only one.
Right, everybody defaults to immigration. Fernand Armandi, nice to see you. Thanks for talking with us.
Likewise, my pleasure.